All right, we've got to talk USC Trojans. This is a team that over the past few weeks and months, they've been building more and more momentum. There's been some rumblings. Is USC back? Is Lincoln Riley taking this program back to where it needs to be? We talked about it a short while ago that they're slowly creeping up on a rival, a bitter rival, former Pac-12 rival, now in the Big Ten. Well, folks, it looks like USC may finally be leapfrogging that rival and joining the college football world elite once again. We'll get into that article in just one second. But first, I'm Nick, that is Andrew, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, the USC Trojans have been battling with the Oregon Ducks, a bitter rival for recruiting for a better part of, I guess, decades at this point. And for the past 5, 6+ years, the Oregon Ducks have gotten the better of USC. We all know it, we all get it, we all understand it. But the tide has shifted this offseason, and this latest report is an indication that the momentum has totally flipped from Eugene down to Los Angeles. Let's get into this article, then we'll talk about it more on the other side. This is courtesy of SI.com. USC had been relatively quiet in the last 5 years in terms of battling Oregon for recruits, but Trojans coach Lincoln Riley and his staff in Southern California are now becoming a thorn in the Ducks' side. Albert Hill, the fourth, great name, the number 4 cornerback in the 2026 class per On3's rankings, has been projected to now sign with USC by On3's Steve Wiltfong, great analyst and predictor over at On3. According to ESPN rankings, Hill holds a 5-star status. It was assumed the races for Hill's signature was between Oregon and Ohio State, with Ohio State holding a slight edge due to the fact Hill is from Ohio. Ohio State Buckeyes insider Bill Kurelic, who has an 87.52% prediction rate, projected Hill to commit to Ohio State back in March of 2024. So we're talking about a kid here where the battle was between Ohio State and Oregon. It was the local battle, right? Ohio kid versus the other alternative, the other Big Ten school that Hill would consider going to, and that was Oregon. But now that vibe has totally shifted, right? You've got the local battle. Now the national figure is no longer the Ducks. It's the USC Trojans. The vibe has shifted. The battlefield and landscape has changed. USC is now equal to and maybe even surpassing Oregon on the recruiting trail. And if that is consistent, if that continues, this USC Trojans team, we're not talking 9 wins, we're not talking 10 wins, we're talking deep playoff pushes and conference titles once again. I'm curious what your thoughts are on all of this. But first, USC fans in the comment section below. Obviously, we're getting closer and closer. It's a long ways away, but it feels pretty close. College football seems to be getting just so close. Spring ball's behind us. What's one game, one matchup in the 2025 season that you're really excited for more than any other, right? It's a big rivalry game, big home game, maybe a game you're going to attend. Whatever it is, give us a matchup for the 2025 season for the USC Trojans that you're really excited for. Put it in the comment section below. But Mize, over to you now. What are your thoughts on this latest news out of LA?
Yeah, Nick, I think this is big news for the Trojans because obviously, Ohio State, they're national champions. They have a lot of money to throw around at players. It's a local kid. You think that this guy would be going there. But then on the other side, you have the Oregon Ducks, who they've been battling with for a number of years. Dan Lanning, excellent recruiter. This is a high-tier program. Really just had a stranglehold lately on the West Coast and those teams. I think they've really dominated a lot of players and a lot of high tier players around the country as well. It's between teams like that. It's between the Ohio States and the Oregons. And now for USC to butt in and be, hey, wait, now we're the favorites. We're going to be projected to sign this guy. I think it's just showing that, like you said, or USC is getting one up on Oregon. They're doing something special. They're starting to make themselves known, especially we're talking about a guy who we're talking defensive side of the football. We're talking a corner. This, USC, if we're talking about a 5-star quarterback, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. Lincoln Riley has always been prognosticated to be great with quarterbacks, do a lot of great things as far as, skill position players. This is the team to go if you want to do that. When we're talking about the defensive side of the ball, this is the trend we've been seeing for a little while here with the Trojans. They're really building something special on defense, and we're starting to see signs that it is getting more and more prevalent to everybody outside of the program as well. We see transfers come in. We see a lot of great players in that aspect going, but now we're seeing high level recruits really favor the Trojans as well. I think this is a great sign that whatever USC has decided to do on the defensive side of the ball, with the coaches they've hired, with the new team that they've been going after, it's definitely working. Lincoln Riley and this staff has really done something special here, and it's starting to get big time momentum. When they were getting 4 stars and things like that, I think it was nice. I think people were like, well, hey, that's solid. But now we're talking about top 4 guys in the country at their position. We're talking about 5-star players coming in saying, hey, we want to not go to Ohio State. We want to not go to Oregon. We instead want to go to USC. This is the shift. This is the momentum change that we want to see to get this program to the next level, to get USC now to be national championship contenders. Going to take a little bit of time. We're talking about 2026 class right now. We're not talking about right now. I think they're going to be significantly better next year, but I think we're starting to see the way things are shaking out. This is going to be an elite defense, and it's going to happen relatively quickly. I think 2026, 2027, you're going to start to see this USC Trojans defense be a force to be reckoned with, and it's moves like this, it's signings like this, things that are shifting in their direction is going to make the difference. I'm really excited to see the future of the Trojans with this latest news.
Yeah, so it's important to understand the context. But before we get into the context, let's look at the landscape here. Again, we're talking USC and the new Big Ten, right? The big question marks with USC was basically twofold: is could they go into Big Ten country consistently and win the biggest recruits, right? For years they dominated the West Coast and did amazing things there in recruiting, which makes sense. They're on the West Coast, Los Angeles, of course. Could they go into Big Ten country? The other question mark was that recently the Oregon Ducks had dominated the West Coast, right? Look, let's call a spade here. Everyone understands it. Everyone gets it. Even diehard USC fans understand that the Trojans have playing second fiddle to Oregon for the better part of the last 5, 6 years, right? In order to contend and win titles again, they would have to usurp Oregon. Well, I think this report here involving Hill is an indication that both of those questions that had been lingering for a little while now may finally be put to bed. Now, again, it's early. We're talking one kid. We're talking a prediction. But if this trend continues, I think it can be confirmed at this point that USC can win in Big Ten country against really great competition, the Ohio States of the world, the Michigans of the world, and also usurp Oregon as the preeminent West Coast program in the entire college football world. So from that perspective, this is a really great sign for Lincoln Riley and the Trojans. Now let's focus on the context and the timing, because that really matters. Because sometimes when you get these predictions, they sometimes seem to fall like right after a player takes an official visit to a school, right? Let's say he goes to USC and has a great official visit. Maybe and someone hears that, they've got an insider, they're like, oh, we predict him to go there. And he may have just had a good time on a Saturday night on USC's campus, right? That may not be a great prediction. Or it could be the opposite. Maybe he had a bad time at a rival school and wants to go, right? It could be something like that. The reality is Hill hasn't taken any official visits yet. His actually first official visit is until May 30th, and that's at LSU. So again, there's no real reason in terms of what Hill saw or did a visit or anything like that to change his mind. The only potential indicator is the upcoming NFL draft. But that's where it gets interesting because USC has some guys, of course, available, but the Oregon Ducks have a healthy amount of guys as well. Ohio State has an army of guys. So you would think that actually would not provide a real benefit to the USC Trojans. Guess this kid didn't care. He just really likes what Lincoln Riley is saying. And again, if Lincoln Riley can win over a kid outside of an official visit, if he can win him over outside of having a massive advantage of having like 10 first-round picks or something like that, then that is a great sign, especially when you consider this is a kid deep in Big Ten country from the state of Ohio, and he's competing against Oregon. Every single box that Lincoln Riley and his recruiting staff could check, they are checking right now when it comes to Hill. Now, again, I get it. It's a prediction. Nothing signed yet, nothing set in stone, but it's undeniable at this point that the trend is certainly USC's friend.
Yeah, Nick, and I think there's a couple other aspects to, you know, add in here. You're saying landscape context, and that is everything, and it's really important. But just to add a little bit more, spice to the sauce here, we see this prediction comes out. This prediction from Steve Wiltfong, who, like you said, is very great prognosticator of where guys are going to go. He's really big in this college football world, is saying this came out after Hill was at Oregon this past weekend. So showing that, even though he was just at Oregon, really edging him towards USC still. I think
Was
that's
that a
really
spring game? Not to cut you off. Was he there for a spring game, or did they say why? Or
it said this past week, and I'm assuming it was some spring game esque activities, but there's kind of vague on that aspect. So, but the fact that they see that, I really think that that's a good sign that being at Oregon and now still being predicted heavily to go to USC, that's good. Two other things that I think are minor, but in this new day and age, the way that we are with social media era, these things don't mean nothing. There's a tweet that comes out from a USC, some sort of like fan site, saying that this guy has been predicted to go to USC. He responded to it. He gave an eyes emoji to it. So I know it sounds stupid, but in this day and age, an eyes emoji is not nothing. That means, hey, I see what you're saying, and I'm not saying you're wrong. So as little as that is something. And then finally, his comments from the guy's dad, I think, are really interesting. He says the whole coaching staff and Coach Riley, they've been awesome. The relationship they've built with our family, it shows us they really want him there. Coach Deonton Lynn, Coach Trevon Reed, they're doing a phenomenal job recruiting us. The vision, the plan, everything they've laid out has been awesome. So strong words about what they're doing recruiting-wise for this top-level player. I think it's a good sign. All these things, little, really done. Who cares what the dad says? Who cares about a tweet? Who cares about that he just was at Oregon? But add them all together, I think it's not nothing. I think it's something there, and it's showing there's building momentum. USC's doing a really great job, and we're finally starting to see some momentum build for this to be one of the top programs in the country once again.